So welcome to all. Today we would like to discuss about the superposition principle for the electrical forces, in which we will discuss that how the multiple charges around a given test charge exert forces on that particular charge. For that purpose, let's consider that we have a coordinate axis here. Okay, in this axis we have this is x, this is y, and let it be z. Okay, now we are having right now a test charge that is named as q0, whose position vector is, let it be, r0. So we have a test charge here, that is the charge under consideration. Okay, and around this charge q0 we have so many charges. Let it be charge q1, whose position vector is r1. Another charge is, let it be, q2, whose position vector is r2. And similarly, we have n number of charges, whereas in this case the position for the q1 charge is this, and the respective position vector for q1 is rn. So what our point is, we need to discuss about the total force experienced by this q0 because of all these charges. And here we just assume that each charge is exerting its force. And since we know this force is a vector quantity, so we will be taking the, you can say, vector sum of all these forces. So first of all, we define what is meant by superposition principle. Okay, so write it down. So here I am defining the superposition principle, according to which I am writing it here. According to the superposition principle, the net force acting on a given charge. In this case, the given charge we have taken it as q0. Okay, it is the vector sum of individual forces acting on that point charge due to all other point charges around it. Okay, so this is the statement for the superposition principle. Now we derive the or write the expression for that superposition principle or the result of this principle. Okay, so how it has to be used, let us discuss now. Now, how the superposition principle has to be implemented, let's see. Suppose I am right now discussing about the force on q0 due to the first charge q1. Okay, that force is given by this is FO1. Okay, that is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon q0 q1 divided by RO1. Okay, fine. Then we will say that this can be written as square, and you will write the position vector. That is fine. Okay, then it can be further expanded. How? This is written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is q0, this is q1. Now here, this is the square of the magnitude, so we can write it as RO1. Suppose we just multiply this with the help of the value, let it be this RO1 magnitude divided by RO1 magnitude. So what happens after this? This will be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q0 q1 divided by RO1. Sorry, I made a mistake here. It should be square. So it is cube. This is a square multiplied again with one other number. So we have cube here. Then we have this RO1 magnitude multiplied with, this is the direction, this is the magnitude. Both multiplied together to form a complete vector. So this can be further elaborated because we know that this result is written as normally R1 minus this should be like R0 minus R1, final minus initial. Okay, so write it as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q0 q1 divided by R O minus R1. this is cube, and this is RO minus R1. Fine. So this result can be expanded in this form. This is the total result for the force on Q0 due to Q1. Let us mark this. This is force FO1. Okay. So really important expression. Note it down. Okay. If you want to expand it into the full form, it is written in this form. Otherwise, it can be written in short form as well. Okay. Now, this one is fine. Let's go to the next one. Similarly, we can write for the other forces. Okay. So I write for Q2 now. For Q2 also, what we have? We have this is FO2 equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Q2 divided by RO2. This is cube. We get simpler form, that is square O2. Okay. In expanded form, it can be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Q2 divided by RO2 cube. This is RO2 vector. And the last expanded form is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Q2 RO2. Sorry, this is R0 minus R2 cube. This is R0 minus R2. Fine. So this is the result for the force on Q0 due to Q2. Similarly, we can go for the results for all the charges, which we can have the expression for individual forces exerted by each Q3, Q4 up to Qn. So in the end, what we'll have? We have the total force exerted on this Q0 is the vector sum of all these forces. Okay. So by the superposition principle, we can write that by superposition principle, we have total force F is equal to F1 is Q, F0 is equal to, so I am not writing it here. So total force on Q0 due to all charges is, this is F0 equals to this is, then it can be taken up to n charge. Writing the expressions, we have 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is Q0, Q1, R01. This is square. This is R01. Similarly, you can extend it to other forms. This you want to write, you can write it as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Q2 divided by RO2 square RO2 naught plus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Qn RON. Okay. So next, in the end, we can write, we can take 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught common. Even we can take Q0 common. So we left with Q1 upon RO1 mod square RO1 common up to Q1 upon RON square RON what. So this can be written in summation form. Okay, that summation form is, I am rubbing it here. The summation form is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. We'll write Q0, put summation here, I equal to 1, n Then that QI divided by ROI mod, this is here ROI mod. Okay. Then next is Q naught upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Further written as in expanded form as, let it be Qy. As we discussed earlier, this can also be written as Qy cube. This can be written as Oi vector form. Then final result will be this is Ro minus Ri cube, Ro minus Ri okay. So this is the final result we obtained for the superposition principle, in which the resultant force on this charge Q naught is the vector sum of the forces acting due to the individual charges. Okay. So for the better understanding, we go for few numericals. Okay, so write the sample numerical here. So note down one numerical based on superposition principle. First is the charges of 1 microcoulomb, 2 microcoulomb and minus 3 microcoulomb are placed at the corners of an equilateral triangle of side 4 cm. So we need to find the magnitude of the net force acting on the charge minus 3 microcoulomb, minus 3 microcoulomb. For that purpose, first of all, draw the diagram. It's a diagram for an equilateral triangle. Names as A, this is B, and this is C. Now we have 1 microcoulomb here. This is 2 microcoulomb, and this is minus 3 microcoulomb. Okay. Now we need to find the total force at point C due to charges at point A and point B. So first of all, let the name the charges as Q1, it is Q2, and this is Q3. Fine. So force on Q3 due to Q1. This is, we're talking about solution here. This is F31. We're taking only the magnitude here. This is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is Q3. This is Q1 divided by R. We can take it as, let it be directly written as AC square. Okay. It is given in the question that this value is equal to 4 centimeter. Fine. So putting the values, we have this is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. It is required. Okay, you can do it. This is 9 10 raised to power 9. Q1 is 1 microcoulomb, that is 10 raised to power minus 6 coulomb. Okay, this is Q1 is Q3 is being tried first. 3 into 10 raised to minus 6 multiplied with 10 raised to minus 6 coulomb divided by distance is 4 centimeter. It's converted into meters, it becomes 0.04 square. Okay. So we can solve it to get our desired result. The result comes out to be nearly equals to 16.88 meter. But magnitude is a different story, but it should be minus 16. Okay, it's a negative force. So this force will be acting on this direction. Why? This is a positive charge, this is a negative charge. So it's the attractive force, because of which the force will be acting downwards. The force name is, this is the force, I have to draw it with the pen. This is force, name is F, Q, P, Q1. Okay, this is an attractive force. Okay, the second force similarly to also be attractive because it's again a negative charge, it's a positive charge, force will be acting again in the downward direction. So we draw the direction first. This is again F, Q2, Q1. Okay. The magnitude of force will be force on Q3 due to Q2. This is given as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q3 Q2 divided by, this is I think BC square. Okay, so write as value for 9 10 raised to power 9. Q3 is again minus 3 10 raised to minus 6. Q2 is, this is 2 into 10 raised to power minus 6 divided by again 0.04 square. Okay, so the answer will be the double of this, almost will be around 33.76 Newton. Okay, fine. Now, resultant force we need to find, and as we have discussed, this is an equilateral triangle, so the angle between the two forces will be 60 degree. Okay, so I will just simply tell you for your knowledge, the angle between the two forces is 60 degree. So we need to find the resultant force, and that this is the resultant force, that is F. Okay, or you can say it is as F3. So F3 we need to find, and F3 can be calculated by using the vector law. Law of the vectorization, that is given as, for a simple result we can say that this resultant force F is given by, right, resultant or net force on Q3 is, this is F equals to F31 square, this is F32 square, is 2 F31 F32 cos of 60 degree using the law of vectorization. Now in normal form this looks a little complicated, we can do one simplification here. You know that FQ2 F32 is actually double of FQ, and this 3 1. You must have seen the result. So we can write it as 2F, where F is equal to F3 1. Okay, for that case it will be easier to solve. Okay, we are already using F, so we write something else. This will be, take this as F3. Okay, this is F. Now we have, this is 3 1, that will be F. This is 2F. This is again 2. This is F. This is 2F. This is cos 60. Now, what is the value of cos 60? This is, I think, half. So this can be cancelled. The result is F square plus 4F square plus 2F square. It is 7F square. That is root 7 into F square. F. So simple result is root 7 multiplied with 16.88 Newton. That comes out to be approximately 44.65 Newton. Okay. And in this case, we are only interested in finding the magnitude. So direction is shown here in the diagram. So you need not separately go for the direction. Okay. Leave the question here only because we are only interested in magnitude. So next we'll discuss about the electric field. What do you mean by electric field? Electric field, it is you can take it as a very simple concept. You must have studied that in class 10th. It was taught that magnetic field was there. The magnetic field was taught as it is a region or the space around a magnet in which its magnetic influence can be experienced. Similarly, for electric charges, we take up electric field, which means it is the space or the region around a given charge in which its electrical influence can be experienced. Okay, so very simple definition that can be carried away from class 10th itself. Okay, only need to change this, instead of magnetic you write electric. Okay, I hope the definition is clear. It is the space or the region around an electric charge in which its electrical influence can be experienced by the experience that is okay. If you want to still continue, you cannot experience by other bodies or charges. Okay. So next is electric field intensity. So let's talk about the electric field intensity. That is important topic in this section. What do you mean by electric field intensity? Electric field intensity. It means basically that if we have a source charge, okay, this is called a source charge, and we assume that around this source charge we have an electric field in which influence can be experienced by others. So there we place another charge named as Q0. This is called as a test charge. So we have taken a source charge denoted by capital Q, and we have taken a test charge denoted by Q0. Okay, if you want a better classification, that is fine. Capital Q, Q0. Let the distance between them is R. Okay. Now we assume that the force experienced by Q0 at, you do one thing, name it as this is point O and this is point P. So Q0 at point P is, this is F equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q0 Q upon R square, and we are taking direction here as R vector, this direction. Okay, if it is a positive charge, this R will be like away, pushing it away. You can understand this well, because if this is a positive charge, this is a positive test charge, I write it like this is a positive test charge. In that case, repulsion will take place and the charge will be pushed outwards. So R being taken as per the direction of the force. In this case, R is outward from O to P. You can write it here along O P for positive charges. Okay. Otherwise, I need not mention this. Next, this you have done. Now here comes the definition of electric field intensity. And what is that? Electric field intensity at any point can be defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge at that point. Okay. So electric field intensity at any point can be defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge at that point in the electric field of the source charge. So in this case, electric field intensity is given as, and it is noted by E. It is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is Q0. This is capital Q upon capital Q, Q0 divided by R square. This is R. It has to be divided by Q0. So the result is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon R square, and this is R naught. So this is the value of electric field intensity at point P. Okay, fine. So electric field intensity will be non-words taken as a electric field for the sake of simplicity. Otherwise, electric field is different, electric intensity is different. For the sake of calculation of electric field, we use to calculate the electric field intensity, and normally it is noted as electric field. Okay, but mind it that electric field at any point you need to follow very simple result that whenever we are calculating this electric field intensity for a point, we always assume that this source charge should and this test charge should be small as possible. So we always follow that electric field at any point P should be like one. This is like summation. Sorry, not summation. This is F upon Q naught, and we always say that Q naught should be small as possible. It should be nearly equal to 0. So you have to mention whenever we are calculating the electric field intensity at a point, we always tend to assume that Q naught should be small as possible. Why? So that it should not affect the results. Okay, it's all normally asked as a conceptual question, so prepare it well from this conceptuals. That why Q naught should be very small, it should be small as possible for the calculation of electric field intensity. Now the SI unit for electric field intensity is, its SI unit is Newton per Coulomb. It is also denoted as volt per meter. We have two units for this. This is Newton per Coulomb. This is volt per meter, or denoted by V by R. I am writing it in complete form because it may be difficult to understand what P stands for. Okay. Next, we have the dimensional formula. The dimensional formula for electric field is, what should the formula? We know that electric field is force upon charge. So we'll take it as force upon charge. Force is mLT minus 2 divided by charge is denoted as AT. The dimension of charge is AT. Why? Because the current is equals to charge upon time, then charge equals to current multiplied with time. That is what ampere into time. So result obtained is M L T minus 3 A minus 1. This is the dimensional formula for the electric field intensity. Okay. Now, this also need to be noted that electric field intensity is given as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q upon R square. So I am taking the magnitude here. So we can conclude that E is directly proportional to 1 upon R square. Okay. So for the graph, if it is plotted for electric field and R, the graph will be like this. Okay. This is a parabolic graph for decreasing amplitude. So next our discussion is about the principle of superposition in case of electric field intensity, in which we will find the electric field intensity at any point P due to a system of charges. Okay. So according to this principle, the net electric field strength at any point due to a group of point charges is the vector sum of all the electric field strengths produced due to the individual point charges at that point, as we have discussed in case of force, similarly discussed in case of electric fields. So proceeding in the same way as we discussed in the case of electric forces, the result was like this. The net force on Q naught, because the system of so many charges from Q1, Q2, Q3 to Qn. Okay. We are starting from same term. The same diagram we have seen in the superposition principle due to electric forces. So there I picked the result. I said net force on Q naught at point P is, this is F naught, this is F equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is Q naught. So writing it here. Q at point P is F is equal to Q naught 1 upon 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught summation I equal to 1 to N. This is QI, this is ROI square ROI vector. So we are looking for net electric field intensity at, so write it here, not here, right up. So writing it here. So net field net electric field intensity at point P is, we have electric field intensity for this point. So we have 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Okay, Q naught will be cancelled. Obviously, the result is only 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So we want to write it first. We can write it as F upon Q naught, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is summation I equal to 1 to I equal to n. This is Q I upon R O I. Okay. Mod square R O I divided. Okay. You can elaborate it as you feel the need. Accordingly, it can be elaborated. Now we'll solve a sample numerical here. In this case, we have 3 identical charges of 1 microcoulomb. They are placed at the corners, 3 corners of the equal triangle of side 10 centimeter. Okay, and we will calculate the electric field intensity at the geometrical center of the triangle. 3 charges, Q1 equals to 1 microcoulomb, Q2 equals to 1 microcoulomb, Q3 equals to 1 microcoulomb. Okay, this is the equal triangle of side 10 centimeter. Okay, it's equal triangle of side 10 centimeter, and we assume that here in this case, this CM is a median. Okay, similarly this is stated also median. So actually, what we're going to do is we are going to find the electric field intensity at point O. For that purpose, we assume that M is the midpoint of AB because CM is a median. Okay, so since it's a 180 degree, total is 180, and with this angle becomes equal to 90. Okay, so this forms that in right angle triangle AMO, we can see that AO divided by, sorry, this is AM divided by AO is cos 30 degree. Why 30? Because in this case this whole angle is 60. It's equilateral triangle, and if we say this is a median and this divides this triangle into 2 common parts, so this angle is also half. This becomes equal to 30. So we have this is equal to cos 30. Fine. So next we have AO equals to AM divided by cos 30 degree. So AM is half of AB, that is 5 centimeter, divided by this is root 3 by 2. That's the value of cos 30. This comes out to be 10 upon root 3 centimeter, or you can say this is 10 raised to minus 2 divided by root 3. Okay. Fine. Similarly, we can say that AO is equal to BO equals to CO. They all are equal. Why? The reason is this is centroid point O. Okay, so distance of C to O, A to O, and B to O all are equal. Fine. Next thing, we need to calculate the forces. Okay, is it done? Straight of it. Next thing. So we get the result that we have AO equals to BO equals to CO equals to, this is 10 upon root 3 centimeter, which is 10 into 10 raised to minus 2 divided by root 3 meter. Okay, this we have done. Next step. Now we need to calculate the electric field intensities. So the electric field intensity, we find electric field intensity at point O due to Q1 at point, okay, at due to Q1 is, it is FO, simply you can say this is F1, okay, this is F1 given as F1 equals to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught this is Q1 upon this is AO square, which comes out to be, now we are not taking the direction here, we are simply taking magnitude. So this is 9 to 10 raised to power 9 into Q1 is 1, that is 10 raised to minus 6 coulomb divided by, no, this is nanocoulomb, microcoulomb, fine. So this is microcoulomb divided by distance. Distance is equal to 10 into 10 raised to power minus 2. Not writing completely. This is upon root 3 square. Result comes out to be 9 into 10 raised to power 9. 10 raised to minus 6 into root 3 square becomes equal to 3, and it comes up. Then we have 10 raised to minus 1 square. This result comes out to 27 into 10 raised to power 5 Newton per coulomb. Okay. Sorry, this is relative E1. Okay, this is E1. Then we have this is equal to 2.7 into 10 raised to power 6 Newton per coulomb. Fine, this is E1, and we can see that if we calculate the electric field due to this Q2 or Q3, in all these cases, the magnitude of electric field will be same as E1. Why? Distance is same, charges, the value of charge is same, this is same. So we can see that if E2 and E3 are electric field intensities due to Q2 and Q3 respectively at point O, then we can say that E1 is equal to E2 equals to E3, which is magnitude of all of them are equal, which is equal to, let it be equal to E. Fine. Now let us draw the values of these direction of these all forces or these electric fields. So we'll have that these forces are first of all force. This is E2. This is E1. This is E3. E1, E2, E3. Why? For the calculation of electric field intensity, we always use this as a main. We have a unit positive charge here. This is a positive charge. This is a positive charge. Repulsion should be there. So E1 is along this direction. E2 is along this direction. E3 is along this direction. Next thing, the angle between E2 and E3 is 120 degree. Okay. Why? Because if this is a right angle triangle. Sorry. If this is a right angle triangle, okay, this is 90, this is 90. So in right is right angle, this is 90, this is 30. This should be 60. Similarly, this should be 60. 60 plus 60 is 120, and total equals to 120 here also because of the vertical opposite angle. So to calculate the resultant electric field at point O in the upward direction, I just forgot to mention point O is limited. Write it again. This is point O. So the resultant electric field at this point O is, let it be E. What name should I give? It should be, let it be E1. This will be E1 dash. Okay. So resultant electric field of E2 and E1 is E1 dash. Now, if E1 dash is the resultant electric field of E2 and E3, then the magnitude of E1 dash is given as root of E2 square, E3 square, 2 E2 E3 cos of 120. So we have, this is denoted as E square E square plus 2E, this is E, this is minus half. Why? Cos 120 is minus half. So we'll write it as cancelling 2 here, we have minus E square. So the result comes out to be E square, that is equal to E. That means that E dash, E1 dash is also equal to E. E1 dash is equal to E again. Now you can see at this point the upward electric field is E, the downward electric field is E3, whose value is again E, as we discussed earlier. That means these two electric field intensities are equal as well as opposite, and hence they will cancel out each other. So resultant electric field intensity at point O will be 0. Okay, so write it here. So since E1 dash and E3, I just missed something, sorry, I'll write it here, E2 and E1. E1 and E3. This is E1. Okay, that's okay. So say this is E1 dash and E3 are equal and opposite to each other. Hence they cancel out. The resultant or net electric field intensity at point O is 0. Okay, we can put vectors here, no problem with that. Okay, this was the end of the numerical. Now in this topic we will find the electric field intensity due to a uniformly charged circular loop, or we can say ring. Okay, and here we consider this is a uniformly charged ring of radius A. Okay, where O is the center of the ring, and we need to find the electric field intensity at point P, which is at a distance of x from point O. So that you can say OP equals to x. Fine. So now we define that lambda be the linear charge density of the ring or the loop, whichever you say. Basically, linear charge density is total charge of the ring divided by total length of the ring. Okay. Now, first of all, we calculated we had to consider here a small length element. Okay. So this length element is dl. Okay. The charge carried by this length element is the charge on this small length element is dq equals to lambda dl. Okay, this is the amount of charge on that small length element. Now we see that we need to find the electric field intensity here. Charge we have. Now see this distance, let it be equal to r. R means x square plus a square by the Pythagoras theorem, because we know this is angle 90 degree. Okay. So electric field intensity will be pointing along this direction. This is the electric field intensity due to this first length element at dl1. Okay. Right. It's not dE, this is dE1 because it's due to length element. Okay. So we have dE1, that is electric field intensity at point P due to dl1 is dl1. dl1 is how much? This is dE1 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Charge required is dq. Distance is x square. Okay. So distance required is x square. So we need not put a distance right now. We simply leave it as such. Next step. Now we need this is dE1. assume that this is making angle theta with the horizontal. Okay, the same angle we can take here. This is also theta. So we say DE1 makes angle theta with the horizontal. In that case, we'll have a component here DE1 cos theta, and the component along this direction is DE1 sin theta. Okay. Now we assume that at the diametrically opposite end, we consider another length element named as dl2. Fine. Now dl2 is at the same distance from point P. Okay, this is also equal to x. Why? Same distance. This is equal. So this is equal at distance r, which is x square plus a square. These are the same diametrically opposite end. So electric field due to this second element is let it be equal to dE2. Again angle is theta. So this is theta. Components are dE2 cos theta, and the component along this direction is dE2 sin theta. Okay, and you can easily see that your value of dE2 and dE1, they both have same magnitude, let it be equal to dE. Fine. So in that case, these two components, being they are equal as well as opposite, okay, equal opposite because dE1 is equal to dE2 in terms of magnitude. So these components along this vertical line, they will be equal as well as opposite and hence cancel out. Fine. So say the vertical components of are equal and opposite, hence cancel out. Okay. So the net electric field intensity is along the horizontal direction. Basically, you can say it's like the horizontal components will get added up. Okay. So vertical components dE1 and dE2 are equal and opposite and cancel out, and the horizontal components will get added up because they are in the same direction. So if we assume that we have considered all the electric fields intensities due to all the elements on this loop, then in all these cases the vertical components will get cancelled out and the horizontal components will get added up. So the resultant electric field intensity at point P due to all the length elements will be, so the net electric field intensity at P due to all length elements will be how much? This will be D, and this will be E equals to dE cos theta. All the components to be added, so result will be like this. So what we'll write here, put the value of dE and on the right put the value of cos theta. So we have 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is d cube upon r square, and we need to write the value of cos theta. So from this right angle triangle, the cos theta is based upon hypotenuse. This is x upon r. Okay. This is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. We take it common. This is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. We taken out. Then we have r cube common. We have x common. Okay. We are left inside as dq. Okay, integration of dq. Now do one thing. We simply write that x is in this much, then the value of dq is x upon 4 pi epsilon naught r cube. This is lambda dl. So lambda is a linear charge density. So we can also assume here that if q is total charge on the ring, okay, then we can say that lambda can be also taken equal to, lambda is a linear charge density, it can also taken equal to q upon total length. Total length is 2 pi a. Okay, so use this concept here. Now we have taken lambda outside. So next is x, then we have lambda, then we have 4 pi epsilon naught, we have a r cube. Okay, and now we take the integration of dl. Integration of dl means whole length of the ring, that is equal to x lambda upon 4 pi epsilon naught. This is r cube and this is 2 pi a. This is total length of the ring. Now you can see here this lambda is equal to q upon 2 pi a. That means if they are multiplied you get q here. So you put q here. For that purpose we have x lambda q. We have 4 pi epsilon naught. Put the value of r also. R's value is x square plus a square half, and q to be taken. So we have mixing something. Sorry, lambda has to be removed because lambda we already used. So we have x into q 4 pi epsilon naught x square plus a square power this. So we have qx divided by 4 pi epsilon naught x square plus a square power 3 by 2. Okay, this is the final result obtained for this case. Now one special case has to be discussed for this. The special case is, suppose if p is very far away point, so that x is much greater than a, then we have x square plus a square power 3 by 2 nearly equal to x square power 3 by 2, which is further equal to x cube. Okay, so in such case electric field intensity will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught qx upon x cube, which further comes out to be 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q by x square. So you can see there in this case, if the point P is very far away point, the result for the electric field intensity for this loop actually reduces to the same result which we obtained for electric field intensity at point P due to a point charge placed at point O, whose charge value is Q. Okay, so same result we obtained in this case. So we can write, or you can note it down, that the expression is same as the electric field intensity due to a point charge placed at distance x from the point charge q. Okay, so for the far away points, if point P is very far away, then the ring will behave like a point charge. Okay, fine.